for everyone to get settled and then jump into our kickoff for this year's Access Awareness Week. I made a commitment to myself for this year that I was going to stay as much as possible on script and on time. And my coordinator, Amanda Henry, is here to ensure that I do that. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 2025 flag raising and proclamation ceremony, as well as the presentation of the Melhab Hourglass Action Awards. It's so great to see a room full today. I was mentioning earlier, yes, I'm off script, that this is 39 years that we have been doing this, and we're very happy to see that we have made headway, but we also understand the work that still needs to be done to understand the progress and the impact on individuals with disabilities. So my name is Sherry Costa-Lorenz. I'm the Executive Director of the Nova Scotia League for Equal Opportunities and the Chair for the Partnership for Access Awareness Nova Scotia. It's an incredible committee that's across sectors represented in here today, and I know if I try to name everyone, I am going to miss some, so please forgive me if I do, but I will tell you that we work closely with the directorates, with community partners such as the Tetra Society, HRM, and again, let's stop naming because I know I'm going to miss a few. So to describe myself, first before I do that, I would like everybody to know that this is being recorded. We're also presenting this, we're using ASL and CART for accessibility. For anybody who does not know what CART is, it is captioning audio in real time. So is that those who are deaf and or hard of hearing may be able to be a part of these events as well. And it's not specific just to this morning, but for all the events that we are doing. As mentioned, I am the chair of the partnership, but I do not take that lightly as I balance this with so many things that have to be addressed within the disability community and systemic issues that continue to happen. For people joining us on live stream today, thank you so much for tuning in. For anyone who during the course of this morning needs to use the washrooms, they are outside the door. Women's is the first one on the right, and the men's is the second one on the right. We also have a quiet room that's available. It's the Downey Wenjack room, which is out the hall on your left. I believe it's the second door on your left. First door happens to be the kitchen. If you mistakenly go into the kitchen, that's up to you. If you have any issues or need any assistance, please feel free to reach out to Amanda. She is at the right-hand side of this room. If you were to come in the doorway, she'd be straight to the back wall coming in. Before we go any further, I would like to introduce Jared Watton to come up and give the land acknowledgement.
Gway and good morning. As we begin Access Awareness Week, I want to invite you all to take a moment to pause and reflect. We are gathered here in Chibouctou, known today as Halifax, which is part of Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people. This land has been home to the Mi'kmaq for over 14,000 years and remains their home today. We are all treaty people, bounded by the peace and friendship treaties first signed here in the 1700s, which were not about the surrendering of land, but about establishing an ongoing relationship of mutual respect and cooperation. As we acknowledge this land, we also acknowledge the responsibilities that come with living and working here. This includes recognizing the histories of colonialism and systemic injustices that continue to impact Indigenous communities and committing ourselves to the work of reconciliation, not just in words, but in actions. This week, as we focus on access awareness, we are reminded that inclusion is not a privilege, it is a right. Accessibility is not a feature, it is a foundation. And equity is not a goal for some, it is a necessity for all. The work of building accessible communities is deeply connected to the work of decolonization. Both require us to listen deeply, to challenge systems that exclude, and to create spaces where everyone, regardless of ability, background, or identity, can thrive. Let us honor the resilience, knowledge, and leadership of Indigenous people, including those with disabilities whose voices are often marginalized. Let us recognize the advocates, elders, and changemakers, past and present, who have fought for the rights and dignity of persons with disabilities. As we move through this week, may we carry forward a spirit of learning, humility, and solidarity. May we commit to removing barriers, physical, attitudinal, and systemic, and to building a future where accessibility is woven into the fabric of our communities. Rawaliuk, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Jared. I would also like to offer up now a description of myself. I am a short, well, not as short or petite as I used to be, Caucasian woman wearing a red suit and a white sweater over top. I'd also like to acknowledge that we are one of the many stewards on the ancestral and unceded territory of the Wabanaki Confederacy known as Mi'kma'ki. And we are committed to the Peace and Friendship Treaty, recognizing that we are all treaty people and that it takes far more than words for reconciliation. Ennis Leo has grown and continues to evolve through the contributions of the 400-year legacy of the rich history and culture of the African Nova Scotians. I'd also like to add that persons with disabilities have the right to live full lives of our choosing and be included in the decision-making processes that impact us. Nothing about us without us. Historically, even basic human rights have not been honored nor respected, and access to the services have been denied. We will continue to speak with a united voice as we support and strive for a province of equitable and a quality of life for all citizens, including our most vulnerable citizens with disabilities that are both visible and invisible, and commit to doing our part to make Nova Scotia an inclusive and accessible province for everyone. This is the mantra and the statement that was developed with the Disability Partnership to ensure that there's a clear understanding of the rights of persons with disabilities that have been hard fought. And these battles, despite the fact that we are here today to raise awareness and celebrate Access Awareness Week, we're also here to talk a bit about where we have to go still. Because yes, we have made progress, but there is so much further that we have to go, and so much more that has to be done, because accessibility goes beyond the built environment. It's part of the policies, it's the processes, and as Jared mentioned earlier, it's the attitudes that we continue to come up against and have to fight. And quite frankly, for persons with disabilities and those who support persons with disabilities, it can be exhausting. Sometimes that exhaustion leads us to make difficult decisions, decisions that under different circumstances we may not make. But on that note, I would like to underscore understanding that there are difficult decisions that people have to make. And despite that, Ennis Leo, and it's important to emphasize this, Ennis Leo will not, under any circumstances, recommend medical assistance in dying, and this is the most important part, as an alternative to getting the supports and services. That's what's needed, the supports and the services and the policies and the processes that'll allow individuals with disabilities to have a quality of life. Because without that, there really isn't. Later this morning, shortly after I wrap up and our town crier proclaims, we are going to have a very special guest in Engage Nova Scotia who's going to talk about the work that they're doing on the quality of life. And that augments, actually, it's a very unique collaboration with Engage Nova Scotia's quality of life work that has been going on for a number of years, and the quality of life work that NS Leo has undertaken over the past 2 years that is dedicated specifically to persons with disabilities. We do have some information in the back. You're free to take any of what's available. And also, if you have any questions, please contact us. We would love to hear from you, but know that that work is going on. So I'm going to wrap this piece up by saying that let's make this week official with a proclamation by the Halifax Old Town Crier, Will Brewer. Thank you so much, Will. I don't think anyone would accuse you of having to use the mic. We're now going to move from the proclamation from the Halifax Regional Municipality, Mayor Andy Fillmore. Your Worship.
Well, welcome, my friends, to Halifax Hall for the acknowledgement of this very important week. Not much I can add to what our town crier has just shared with us about the importance of the proclamation and what it means to each of us. But as you look around the room, you can see that there are a great many people that are gathered here to acknowledge this moment along with us. I'm very happy to see our provincial partners in the name today of MLA Brad Johns. Brad, no stranger to this building and these halls. Welcome, nice to see you here. My colleague on the council, Councillor Deagle Gammon, is with us, and there may be others that I'm just not seeing in the moment. And I see Danny Graham in the room, and I expect you'll be hearing from him about the work of the Quality of Life Index today as well, and I'm sure you'll be fascinated by what he has to share. There are a lot of other familiar and friendly faces in the room. Welcome to each of you. It's a great privilege to have you all here to commence this important work that perhaps, like reconciliation, takes more than words, it takes action, and that's really what we're all here for. And in our work today, we're also supported by many great and talented members of the Halifax Regional Municipality staff who work very hard to improve conditions in the accessibility space in HRM. So thank you to them as well. Thank you to each of you for taking this so seriously and showing that with your presence here today. I hope that you have a wonderful and productive morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Fillmore. I once called a past mayor Your Worship. Are you getting used to it?
Never get used to it.
No, you wouldn't. We are now going to move on to a proclamation from the governments of Nova Scotia. While Premier Tim Houston has other commitments, he does send his regrets, and he does understand the importance of Access Awareness Week, Nova Scotia. And we have MLA Brad McGowan and the Honourable Danielle Barkhouse joining us today. Mr. McGowan is going to bring remarks from the province. I tried to stay on script. I tried.
It's the Brad McGowan and the Brad Johns show today. So on behalf of the Premier and all my colleagues in the Nova Scotia Legislature, I'm pleased to be able to read the proclamation today for Access Awareness Week Nova Scotia, and it reads as follows. Whereas Access Awareness Week Nova Scotia is an annual celebration held the last week of May to raise awareness about disabilities, accessibility, and inclusion, and whereas Nova Scotia was the first province in Canada to champion Access Awareness Week 39 years ago, and in 2017 became the third province to pass accessibility legislation to prevent and remove barriers for people with disabilities, and the theme of this year, Our Voices, Our Vote, Disability Rights in Action, highlights the importance of people with disabilities participating in all aspects of public life to create an inclusive province. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Tim Houston, Premier of Nova Scotia, do hereby proclaim the week of May 25th to 31st, 2025 as Access Awareness Week Nova Scotia, and do commend its thoughtful observation to all citizens of our province. Signed, Honourable Premier Tim Houston. Thank you.
We do also have remarks from MLA Brad McGowan. I'd like to welcome you to the podium, please.
Good morning, everyone. When you have two Brads, you divide and conquer, and you share the labor. I do want to acknowledge that I'm honored to be here with colleagues, the Honourable Danielle Barkhouse and the Honourable Brad Johns. So good morning. It is an honor to gather with you to raise this flag and mark the beginning of Access Awareness Week in Nova Scotia. This is a week dedicated to recognizing the importance of accessibility, inclusion, and the rights of individuals with disabilities. This year, we celebrate the 39th anniversary of this initiative, a milestone that underscores Nova Scotia's leadership in championing accessibility. This campaign is the longest-running disability awareness effort in Canada and is a reflection of our province's commitment to fostering equity and dismantling barriers. This year's Access Awareness Week theme is Our Voices, Our Votes, Disability Rights in Action, highlighting the importance of inclusion, representation, and active participation in shaping an equitable society. The theme reinforces our belief in the importance of sharing our voices and that all individuals deserve opportunities to advocate for their rights and contribute to their communities. By amplifying voices and ensuring accessible voting and decision-making processes, we are taking steps towards a more inclusive future for Nova Scotia. We know that accessibility is about more than infrastructure. It is about ensuring equal access to employment, education, transportation, healthcare, and all aspects of life. When we remove barriers, whether physical or systemic, we empower Nova Scotians to participate, contribute, and thrive within society. Our PC government recognizes that inclusion starts with accessibility. That's why we've taken steps to break down obstacles, including the development of our Community Accessibility Grant and our Business Accessibility Grant, which provide funding to make public spaces, workplaces, and services more inclusive. We are committed to achieving an accessible Nova Scotia by 2030. Whether it's helping a small business install a ramp or supporting communities in improving accessible transit, we know that when we build our province for people of all abilities, we create a stronger Nova Scotia. This commitment to accessibility is also reflected in the work underway through Nova Scotia's Human Rights Remedy, which is driving formative change for persons with disabilities. As part of this remedy, our government is closing large institutions and moving towards a more community-based, person-directed model of care. This shift is about recognizing the inherent dignity, rights of every Nova Scotian. I'd also like to take a moment to recognize the dedicated staff and volunteers who played a role in making today's a success. It is because of your hard work and dedication that events like this flag-raising ceremony are possible. So, as we raise this flag today, let it wave as a reminder of our progress and symbolize our commitment to fairness, equity, and belonging. So once again, thank you.
Thank you to both MLA Brad McGowan and the Honourable Danielle Barkhuis for joining us today. We now have the Honourable Brad Johns, who is going to bring remarks from the Opportunities and Social Development Department. The Honourable Brad Johns was first elected to the Nova Scotia House of Assembly as MLA for Sackville-Beaverbank in 2017 and was re-elected as MLA for Sackville-Beaverbank in 2021 and 2024. He has served as Minister of Justice and Attorney General and is now the Ministerial Assistant to the Minister of the Opportunities and Social Development Fund.
Geez, every politician's dream, I get up twice, wow. Good morning, everyone. It's an honor to be here today on behalf of Minister Armstrong to mark the opening of Nova Scotia's 39th Access Awareness Week, an initiative that speaks to who we are and who we aspire to be as a province. This year's theme, of course, has been said, is Our Voices, Our Votes, Disability Rights in Action, is a call to listen, to act, and to ensure that the rights of persons with disabilities are not only protected, but amplified through meaningful participation, representation, and leadership. We have a lot to be proud of in Nova Scotia. We have the longest running annual disability initiative in the country, and we trace those roots back to the legacy of Rick Hansen in his 1987 Man in Motion tour, a moment that really changed how Canadians thought about ability, advocacy, and perseverance. Rick Hansen once said, quote, "I honestly believe that my best work is in front of me, not behind me. I'm driven by the deep passion and need to make a difference and leave this world a little bit better than when I arrived. That's what keeps me going." It's that spirit of action, of perseverance, and of hope is alive in Nova Scotia. It's what guides our work on accessibility every day, including our work on the Human Rights Remedy, which will transform how we deliver programs and services so that they reflect the needs and the rights of the people with disabilities. This transformation is a vital part of our effort to remove barriers and create a truly inclusive province. The work is still underway, but the foundation is strong, and we're building towards something better because we believe, as Rick Hansen says, that our best work is still in front of us. As we raise the flag today, we do more than kick off Access Awareness Week. We renew a promise to listen to the voices of Nova Scotians with disability, to act on their priorities, and to ensure that the equality and inclusion are not just ideals, but become realities. Thank you to everyone here today, especially the advocates, community members, and partners for your leadership and your persistence. Your dedication is driving change, real change, and it is deeply appreciated. Let's continue to move forward together. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Brad Johns. A little bit about the Partnership for Access Awareness, also known as PANS. We continue to fully embrace the intent and meaning of Rick Hansen's Man in Motion tour and to raise awareness on issues of ability and inclusion. Each year, beginning the last Sunday of May, that's when the week starts, it's not when the work starts, Access Awareness Week is an opportunity that allows Nova Scotians to promote these issues to all walks of life. Through press conferences, forums, concerts, lectures, and parades, we are able to engage the broader community on issues that must not be ignored. Access Awareness Week is a fundamental step of positive and fundamental change making. It is meant to set a positive and undaunted tone for the week because raising awareness is something that we can all participate in. We aim to do two things during the course of this week. The first is to celebrate what has happened to increase accessibility and the potential of things to come. Formerly, PANS achieves this with the presentation of the Melheb Hourglass Action Awards, which we will witness later this morning, and the Partnership for Access Awareness Week's Scholarships Luncheon later this week as well. Informally, PANS attempts to integrate this attitude into our approach to all things. We also aim to bring issues of access to the attention of the public and to the policymakers. And as has often been said, change grows from the bottom up, or it can also be implemented from the top down. And we want both to happen, with the movements meeting somewhere in between. This year's theme is Our Voices, Our Votes, Disability Rights in Action. With the many elections that happened in the past 8 months, PANS felt it was critical to highlight the right and the importance of voting, including what has improved for persons with disabilities to access their right to vote, as well as what barriers still exist. While the opportunity to vote only happens during elections, first voice is needed each and every day in all aspects of life. This is why we are also highlighting disability rights advocacy and community involvement as part of the theme to showcase the different ways that we can participate and take action. The next presentation for you today will highlight one of the many ways Nova Scotians can participate in improving our quality of life. Today, Chief Engagement Officer Danny Graham and Community Outreach Lead for Disabilities Communities, Jonathan Hall, from Engage Nova Scotia, are going to discuss their quality of life survey that is coming up, including how they are working to improve the experiences of persons with disabilities. Danny, Jonathan? Oh, here we go.
Thank you, Sherry. I first want to introduce my colleague Jonathan Hall at Engage Nova Scotia and say how honored we are to be here today to share some of the work that we're doing in collaboration with community from one end of the province to the other. In this incredible hall, it's easy to sort of get caught up in the remarks from the podium and also to sort of forget the lived experiences of the people who are either in this room, who have been part of our families, and who are part of our families right now. So as I look around the room and I see the faces of people who I've known for, in some cases, many years, and who have been on the front lines of advocates and first voices, I think it's important for us just to take a moment, if we could, even in silence, to think about the people who have motivated us to do the work that we are doing to try to level the playing field. It is our birthright to be independent. It is our birthright to have agency, to have voice. And for too long, people we love and care about have not found their way into our society. There are many historical examples of this. You just need to understand the story of the burial grounds from the poorhouse at the Halifax Memorial Library to appreciate the way that persons with disabilities, for example, in our province, have lived and existed and continue to fight for a level playing field. I want to acknowledge the leadership in this room, and most importantly, the first voice leadership that has continued to sort of bring the stories of people from one end of the province to the other across many different experiences of disabilities into this room, and to recognize that together, across many disparate sort of lived and different experiences, we're all trying to have a society where everyone enjoys a better quality of life. The work that we do at Engage Nova Scotia couldn't happen without the support of, for obviously, many levels of government. And I acknowledge the work and the support that we've gotten from the current government that has continued to make such a big difference in that. So to the MLAs on the government side, I can't say enough about the support that we've received from you, and support also from all MLAs, like MLAs Gallagher and LaChance, who are here today, and also from leaders like Cathy Deagle-Gammon, who's now a councillor but has been a frontline champion for a long period of time through her work at DASC. And did Will just leave? Did he just walk out in the middle of? So I've known Will Brewer through Special Olympics and so many other things. He left his belt, so he's coming back, Sherry's pointing out. So we have, at Engage Nova Scotia, enjoyed support from all levels of government, including Halifax Regional Municipalities. So to the members of and staff with HRM, we can't say enough about the support that we've received. And I see Don Stegan here, who heads up the Accessibility Directorate, with the province, incredible partners that we've had at all levels of government. We're so excited to be here. And I wouldn't, there's another partner that doesn't get mentioned very often, but is really critical to the work that we're doing at Engage, and that's the Medavie Blue Cross Foundation. Sort of with the foundations in Nova Scotia, they have been integral to the support that we have received in making sure that we're doing the outreach work that Jonathan's able to do to make sure that we have a stronger and better Nova Scotia. First amongst our partners is Nova Scotia League for Equal Opportunity, and the work that Sherry and Amanda and others have been doing to sort of help us make sure that this work is understood and heard from one end of the province to the other. So there's so many more, and I'm running the risk, Sherry, of committing the sin that you spoke about in trying to reference everyone with gratitude, but I just want to say that to all the work that everybody's doing, to the work that sort of is the legacy work of the Hebb family and others. We hope that we're able to continue and make this a society where everyone enjoys the birthright of a happy, successful, and full life. So I'm going to go through a few slides and just share a little bit about what it is that we're doing, but we'd love to have follow-up conversations with anybody about what does this really mean for persons with disabilities across the different disabilities that we have. So Engage Nova Scotia has, we often say that we sit at the intersection of the public, private, academic, and community sectors. That sounds really fancy. What it means is that we're a jack of all trades and masters of none. We are an independent nonprofit charity, and our mission is to change the approach for improving quality of life for everyone. If you were trying to imagine, we're missing a piece at the bottom of the slides because of CART, so I'll speak to what it means. And it is that for over 100 years, we have assumed that in order to have a good life in Nova Scotia, all we need is good economic growth and population growth. And while those things are important, without, and the words that are written below the CART screen is good quality of life for everyone in community, then it's going to be a meaningless exercise. So the work that we are trying to do, metaphorically, is the soil work. It's the less seen work about improving, as anyone who understands agriculture would appreciate, the soil that creates the shoots, that creates the trees, that strings together and brings together a healthy society. So our work is in the soil. And we do this through this incredible exercise with many partners called the Quality of Life Survey. So we undertook this work first back in 2019, and it turned out to be a pioneering effort. With partners from one end of the province to the other, we asked Nova Scotians to participate in a 230-question survey. When we went to our partners who do polling, they said, whoa, you are dreaming in Technicolor about whether or not people will respond to this. You might get a 2% response rate. And we ended up with a 16% response rate. And we administered this to 80,000 Nova Scotia households. What it meant, just to get slightly mathematical here, is that almost 13,000 Nova Scotians responded to 230 questions about their quality of life. And the kinds of questions we asked them weren't the usual kinds of questions. It included the usual questions about, you know, what's your employment and education and related circumstances, but it included questions about, are you lonely? Do you have an experience of discrimination? Can you say more about what it means to be connected and belong to a community? We're really excited to say that with the support of the provincial government and the federal government, we've been able to increase our planned intentions for the next survey, and this is where it gets really important, to 100% of Nova Scotia households. So the survey the Quality of Life survey that we were able to create together with our partners in 2019 created the single largest data set on quality of life that exists worldwide with a 20% household survey. In the fall of this year, we are going to be administering that survey to 100% of Nova Scotia households. And this is why it's important in this context for us to think about and consider what that could mean. We've been able to tell stories, and I'll share a little bit about what we revealed in Cape Breton Regional Municipality in a slide that I'm about to show you shortly. But we've been able to, even what we've been able to do has had its own limitations. If we have 100% of Nova Scotia households receiving the survey, and we get high participation, for example, amongst people who have disabilities, then we're going to have a data set that gets us really granular, really intersectional, and understanding at really close neighborhoods who in that neighborhood is experiencing a barrier that needs to be overcome. So this, am I going in the right direction? So this slide will just give you an impression of what the survey results looked like before. This slide here, and I don't have it all up, is giving you a sample of, we've consulted with our partners, including NS Leo and others in the disabilities community, to say, what questions did we even not ask amongst those 230 when we administered the survey in 2019? And the kinds of answers that we got back are really important for our consideration of what are we going to know next time. So we're going to have much better understanding about the perceptions of skills upgrading circumstances for persons with disabilities than we've ever had before. For example, I'm just going to the top line far left, just so that you can follow along with this. We're going to understand digital access for persons with disabilities at levels we've never understood them before. We're going to understand how do people form their sources of opinions. To the theme of this week's Access Awareness around democratic engagement, we're going to be able to understand the stories of who trusts elections and why do they trust elections at a level that we've never understood before, and so much more. Intimate partner violence, addiction concerns, and hope. Something as basic as hope is something that we need to be putting on our radar because we're living in times of despair. So, our hope for you is that when the survey arrives at every one of your households, that you take the time. It's not simple to take as much time as we need from you in order to fill it out, but you take the time, please, to fill out the survey. And it's especially important, what we don't have, carts, I'm gonna speak to this slide because at the bottom of our slide, what I'm just gonna describe to you is that in 2019, we asked questions about, here was the nesting, if you will. I'm gonna sound like I'm really technical just for a moment. And it started with, are you living with a disability, physical or mental, or a chronic illness? If the answer is no, then obviously you continue with the survey. If the answer is yes, we ask just 3 questions. Is it, are your limitations related to a mental illness, a physical disability, or a chronic illness? In the upcoming survey, we've actually gotten more granular to ask people questions about specifically, more specifically, is it about mobility or seeing or hearing or intellectual disabilities or developmental delays, and so much more that we're going to be able to understand as a result of this new survey. So what we're trying to impress upon you is that this is going to be important and valuable, and Nova Scotia is the one jurisdiction that's being looked at across Canada and across in other parts of the world as the jurisdictions that is leading the way in understanding the story of persons with disabilities along with our entire society. So we've been working in collaboration with, if you haven't gone to our website, please do so at engagenovascotia.ca, and you'll learn about the tools that we've been able to use in collaboration with the Faculty of Computer Sciences at Dalhousie that allow us right now to make publicly accessible data across 70 different regions of Nova Scotia across these hundreds of questions. So none of that's useful unless it's really accessible to everybody. So the second tool that we were able to create with I'm just going to tell you a story, and then I'll be turning it over to Jonathan to tell a more detailed stories about what's ahead for us. So we were asked by the Cape Breton Regional Municipality to come in. In fact, they said, look, the only thing that people seem to be talking about in terms of our future relates to economic and population growth. Is there a way with your fancy tools that you can come in and tell us a story that helps us pivot and understand the story of everyone in the community? And so what we were able to do, and this is just a representative feel for what our data showed us, you'll see on the left-hand side of the slide that you see, these are notable assets or concerns for persons with disabilities in Cape Breton Regional Municipality relative to the provincial average of the 13,000 people who otherwise answered. And you may be looking at that slide and saying, well, it's a mistaken slide because there isn't a single asset that's listed for persons with disabilities in CBRM. It's not a mistake. It's because relative to the provincial average, the 2,000 people who answered the CBRM said there aren't any specifically notable assets that they have relative to the countless concerns that showed up for persons in that community. So our hope, our message, our desire across all levels of government, all political parties, all community sectors, is that we together, knit together the Nova Scotia that lives up to our tremendous potential. And we participate in the upcoming survey so that we have a more level playing field. This isn't about turning a switch and suddenly everything's going to get grand for all the people we care about in these circumstances. But it's about taking strong, deep next steps. And those next steps are fundamentally tied to participation in the upcoming survey. And in that regard, I'll finally turn it over to Jonathan, who'll tell you a little bit more about exactly what we're doing.
I want to make sure I'm moving in the right direction here. There we go. I've learned that our slides do not fully show up here. So I'm going to fill you in on this slide here. You know, when I was thinking about what I wanted to say in relation to our project, I was struck by the number of verbs that show up in our project, in this week, for example, in the theme for this week, Disability Rights in Action, and that it's very much about action and process. And my responsibility here today is to fill you in on some of the action and the process of Engage, and I will do that, but I'd also like to make a point about the bigger picture that we all share. So for the project, we're asking people to tell your story and connect it to our values and the values of our organization, and beginning with the human rights perspective. We begin with awareness of the survey, awareness of the concept of quality of life and what that means. We have activities, we have communications, we're at events like these, and we're hoping to develop an understanding of what quality of life means and the value of the survey, for example, and participating in the survey, and the value of that for telling your story. I'll share some specifics of the ways that you will be able to tell your story. The idea there is that we're building trust, that we're in a community together, that this is a shared project. And then, when that is in place, we work towards promoting that, whether that would be through an organization such as NS-LEO, for example, promoting quality of life and promoting the survey, and then potentially asking people to participate in the survey. So, as Danny says, we move at the speed of trust, and our work is very relational. I'm very available for communications, and anything that you see here, I'm always happy to have a conversation after the fact or in some other way. You can always reach out to me. Some more logistics in terms of access, before I kind of make a broader point here. In terms of the project, yes, we begin with a human rights perspective. We have that in mind. We're thinking about a universal design approach to the work, to the survey itself, to the outreach, to the communications. When we're thinking about the work, we're thinking about the design of the survey, and we're also thinking about the participation in the survey, the ability for people to tell their story. And so when it comes to the design, Danny has outlined some of the ways that we have improved the 2025 survey. For example, greater detail around disability questions, for example. The survey itself is hosted on a platform called Qualtrics. There are different accessibility considerations in that. I don't want to bog you down with some of these boring details at the moment, but as well as language, plain language. We want the questions, we want the information, we want the story that we can tell to be meaningful. We're also working on different versions of the survey. So Danny mentioned that it's a long survey, and there are a lot of questions. And so we're working on a shorter version for those where it might be appropriate for them to complete a shorter version of that survey. And then in terms of participation, online, the mobile experience should be improved from the last time. There will be a paper version accessible through shared community partners. And we're working on a supported experience, tiered, where somebody would have the option to ask some that they trust to help them support that, and then kind of working out from there, potentially with a community partner. This is not perfect at this point. This is a process to go to those verbs. Again, we're working on this, and to the best of our capacity, we're always open to feedback. It is exciting work to do this and to be involved in this project. I'd like to say that Engage is listening to real stories from all regions of the province and all life experiences. And, you know, the broader point that I'd like to make today, I mentioned the verbs. The theme of this week, disability rights in action. To me, it relates to this broader project of society, the project of society. And I see that as an active process. And there's a connection there with the awards being awarded today. It's not for an end state, a record height, a speed that has been achieved. These are all recognitions of processes, of projects, of quality of life. And the Community Action Award, the Exceptional Service Award, the Encore Award, the Access Award, the Andre McConnell Award, the Youth Champion Award. All of these reflect actions and projects. And I see those as part of this project of society that we're all involved in. I'm happy to be acting together in this shared project, both with Engage and in Nova Scotia. And I feel like this is a connection point for this week here, the Access Week, Disability Rights in Action in Nova Scotia. Thank you for the opportunity to talk today.
Thank you, Danny and Jonathan, for your presentation and for your work in this extremely important, not just the survey, but for its impact for persons with disabilities, not only in this province, but hopefully showing leadership across the country and what can be achieved here. We are going to be looking at the next phase of our performance, but before we get into the Malahab Hourglass Action Awards presentation, I would like to invite Anna Martin as we transition into the Malahab Awards. Anna Martin for a musical performance. Anna was born in Halifax, Nova Scotia. I don't know why I always say Nova Scotia after Halifax. I think we just know. Growing up in a household of music, Anna has had the privilege of having a strong support system as well as fellow musicians to work with. Being one of 6 kids, Anna, her father, and siblings have come together to play music and to fill not just the halls of her home with melodies, but to share music with others. Anna started busking at local markets in 2017 and has had the opportunity to work with award-winning musicians and to continue to pursue her career in music. I will say that I had the opportunity this morning as we were getting ready to hear some of her rehearsing just to make sure that everything was on check. And Anna has an incredible, an amazing voice. So please join me in welcoming Anna Martin to the stage.
First off, thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. And I feel super privileged to be here today with you all. Here's a little Bob Dylan. How many roads must a man walk down before you can call him a man? How many seas must Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. No religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you had no need for greed or hunger, a brotherhood of men. Imagine all the people living for today. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be one. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one. Thank you very much. Get up, stand up for your right. Get up, stand up, don't give up the fight. Get up, stand up for your right. Get up, stand up, don't give up the fight. Preacher man, don't tell me heaven is under the earth. I know you don't know what life is really worth. It's not all that glitters gold, it's not all been said. So now you see the light, stand up for your right. Get up, stand up for your right. Get up, stand up, don't give up the up for your rights. Get up, stand up, give up the fight. Get up, stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up, don't give up the fight. You know I say get up, stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up for your rights. I say get up, stand up for your rights. Get up, stand up for your rights. Thank you very much.
Leave the experts to do what they do best. Thank you so much, Anna. I think we all just heard a future, if not present, superstar. Thank you. I would now like to take this opportunity to invite Taylor Carvery and Catherine Hebb to present the Mel Hebb Hourglass Action Awards.
Put it here for now until you speak. Good morning, everyone. What a lovely event, and what a lovely addition to have music. Sherry, lovely. Danny made me cry. Anna made me cry. I'm all good now. My name is Catherine Hebb. I am the youngest daughter of Mel Hebb, and we're going to talk a little bit about who Mel was. There is a script. I may not be famous for following scripts either, Sherry, but I'll do my best. To my left is my beautiful and favorite middle daughter, Taylor, who will help me give out the awards. So let me put my glasses on. I can hear my mother telling me to. The Hourglass Action Awards were launched in 1992. That year, the theme of National Awareness Week was local community action. On one of the week's publication, which was the image of an hourglass. This hourglass inspired the award's name and its spirit of timely action. In 2000, the name of the award was changed from the Hourglass Action Awards to the Mel Hebb Hourglass Action Awards in honor of Mr. Melbourne Hebb, a former chair of the awards committee. The spirit of the award remains unchanged. Hebb, who passed away in October of 1999, was the personification of dedicated action. About Mr. Hebb. He had a wry sense of humor, and it could often, most definitely, be mistaken for grumpiness. But those who knew Mel Hebb knew much differently. He gave freely of himself, and he put all of himself into everything he pursued. His life was a demonstration of the type of leadership and dedication of the Hourglass Action Awards recognize. So he was born in 1933, and at the age of 9, he contracted polio. And Hebb's days he was born on a farm in Lunenburg County, those days ended. He was hospitalized for several years in different hospitals in Nova Scotia and Ontario. The disease stripped him of his ability to run, to climb trees, to bathe, to write, his paralysis becoming so complete that he couldn't even swat flies away from his face. But Hebb fought back with years of rehab and therapy. Though he only gained 50% of normal functioning, Hebb's courage remained untouched. He finished high school by correspondence. In overcoming the challenges of being a wheelchair user on a campus that often was and remains less than wheelchair friendly, sorry Dalhousie, Hebb completed his Bachelor of Commerce degree in 1960. His interest in issues relating to access was born out of a desire for an equitable and fair society, and a need born of his own desire for a full life. It wasn't planned and it wasn't practiced, it was just a part of who he was. And he would comment on things, and nothing was getting by him, and you knew, you knew you had to pay attention. Heb went on to jobs at New Leaf Enterprises. That he often said that was his favorite job, that was his first one. He did wait on the farm over a year for a job offer in 1960. He was the only graduate that year with a Bachelor of Commerce who didn't receive multiple job offers. He managed Dalhousie's print shop, and then he went on to work at the Nova Scotia Rehab Center for a long time. All those positions demonstrated his work ethic and determination. He married Wanda, my mother, also a polio survivor, who had polio also at the age of 9, 10 years later during the second wave of polio. And they really were a team. They raised 2 daughters, and one of them is me. In 1996, he published his autobiography, Wheels to Victory, an account, painful at times, of his struggles and what he had to overcome. He was a member of the awards committee for 4 years, 2 of those as chairs, and he was an inspiration to others and to all persons. As I said, the following year, after he passed, the awards were renamed, and his wife, Wanda, passed away in 2015. The Melhab Hourglass Action Awards recognize Nova Scotians for their contributions to the lives of persons with disabilities, recognizing that these contributions are varied and diverse, and we have different awards to reflect the amazing work that's done every year in this province. And it's an honor actually to participate in this for myself and my family year after year, and also to be a part of the selection of the awards. It leaves me very inspired and hopeful. Hope is very important to think that we can co-create a better world and a better province for everyone. The only other thing I'll say is that my dad really believed in, the spirit of him is in this room, I feel it, and all of the award recipients are being honored for their ability to see something different for us and to contribute to the creation of that. So remember that we all have the ability to be empowered to do that. So we're going to start with the Community Action Award. Do you want to do the first one? It's okay if you put the mic up.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Thanks for the permission. We are starting with presenting the Community Action Award. The Community Action Award is to recognize communities dedicated to increasing opportunities for persons with disabilities in their area. This includes recreation opportunities, inclusive education, and employment opportunities, or other initiatives that lead to the full participation of persons with disabilities. PANS regrets that improvements to accessibility that are mandated by the Accessibility Act cannot be considered for these awards. This year, we are presenting the Community Action Award to Peyton's Path, a social media community that was established to follow the journey and experiences of 8-year-old Peyton Moore, who at 4 months old was diagnosed with the rare disease called, I probably should have practiced how to pronounce that, how did you say that? Okay.
Where is it? Pontocerebello hypoplasia, sorry.
PCH. I invite Peyton and her family to accept the award.
You're not here? So Peyton's family isn't here, but we're gonna present that one at a later time, right, Amanda? Okay, perfect. Thank you, Taylor. Are we on this one now? Okay, this is where I needed the pen. Yeah. We move on to the Exceptional Service Award. The Exceptional Service Award recognizes an organization or a member of an organization that has gone beyond their mandate in service of persons with disabilities. This year, we are presenting the Exceptional Service Award to Amanda Purdy from Sunset Community. Amanda is a dedicated and effective advocate for her clients. She is steering Sunset and affiliate organizations through the opportunities and challenges of the Human Rights Remedy with insistent positivity. I invite Amanda to accept this award.
Next, we are presenting the Encore Award. The Encore Award is to recognize a person with a disability who has significantly contributed to the community. This year, we are presenting the Encore Award to Courtney Malcolm. Courtney is a lifetime advocate for persons with disabilities within the sporting community and the town of New Glasgow. We will bring the mic and award to Courtney to accept the award. Courtney, are you here? Over here. Is that you? That's me. Oh my goodness, congratulations. Let's get the right board.
Made a mistake giving me the mic. No, I've just turned 94 years of age yesterday. And what I'm about to say may not go over too well with a lot of people, but if people with disabilities want to just sit back and let themselves disappear and fall in and disappear again, get off your butt, get out and do something. Now, I don't know how to knit, but I know how to work with kids, and that's been a lifetime job with me, working with kids and adults too. There's some adults that I've had through the years that gone on to do big things, and I'm so proud of them. And I know I have a special spot in my heart for the people in the south end of New Glasgow, which was predominantly a black neighborhood, and I worked so many times with the black people, and why there's a problem with them, because I don't know how many blood transfusions I've had or what blood I've got in me, but I know I've probably got some black blood in me, which is, I'm proud of it, and I want to thank the organization for this honor, and I'm also bringing honor to my hometown. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
This one now? Yeah. So now we move on to the Access Award. The Access Award is to recognize an individual, business, or group without a mandate to serve persons with disabilities that has worked to improve access to facilities or services in a given area. While changes made to a building specifically to improve accessibility are eligible, Pans regrets that improvements to accessibility that are mandated by the building code cannot be considered for these awards. This year, we are presenting the Access Award to Judy Rosé. Judy is a manager at Yarmouth Rossi who stands out as a supportive employer and business when it comes to their willingness to provide employment experiences, learning experiences, and accommodating clients living with disabilities. I invite Judy to accept this award.
Next, we are presenting the Andre McConnell Award. The Andre McConnell Award is to recognize an individual or municipality who has gone above and beyond their duties and mandate as a provincial, municipal, or federal public servant and has demonstrated a commitment to person-centered service, always putting the needs and concerns of persons with disabilities first. True dedication to supporting persons with disabilities to fully participate in their communities. This year, we are presenting the Andre McConnell Award to Mike Arthur. Mike is a retired public servant who has worked for 25 years as manager physical activity for the Nova Scotia Department of Health and Wellness. Mike now holds the title of chair of the Active Living Alliance for Canadians with Disabilities and has done volunteer work in improving access to recreation for persons with disabilities. I invite Mike to accept the award.
Thank you very much.
our Youth Champion Award. So the Youth Champion Award, it recognizes a youth with a disability up to the age of 18 who has significantly contributed to raising awareness of disability issues and championing accessibility. This year, we are presenting the Youth Champion Award to Mohammed Rayan, and I'm not going to try the last name, but Mohammed Rayan was diagnosed with cerebral palsy and intellectual disability with severe seizure and associated developmental issues. He's a new immigrant who moved to Halifax from India along with his family to explore more accessible and inclusive living. With the support of his family members, support workers, and volunteers, he has tried to share the best practices in the disability domain with other newcomer families in Halifax, as well as the larger community in India. I invite Mohammed to come up and receive the award.
Good morning, everyone. I am Muhammad Rayan's father. I'd like to share his feelings in his own words. I'm incredibly honored and humbled to receive the Youth Champion Award. I want to begin by sincerely thanking PANS Canada for this meaningful recognition. I also extend my heartfelt congratulations to my fellow awardees and organizations whose efforts are helping build more accessible and inclusive communities around. This award means more to me than words can express. My journey began in a distant part of the world in a community that in many ways claims to be more disability friendly. Tragically, that same community has seen the loss of at least 25 lives in the past 2 years, lives lost either by the suicide or at the hands of the loved ones. I was systematically denied access to education, having been moved directly from the grade 1 to grade 2 without attending even a single day in a school. Sadly, stories like mine are not unique. In fact, in many parts of the world, the reality is often even more worse. Personally, as an immigrant who came to Canada in search of more inclusive and accessible life, I was deeply touched by the warmth and welcome of Nova Scotian community. The past 2 years have been especially meaningful, being present in places such as public libraries, the corridors of HWK Hospital, the recreational centers, and community events across Nova Scotia has been transformed. Completing 2 years in an inclusive school in Nova Scotia has marked a beautiful chapter in my journey. I'm truly grateful to the families and support system who have worked this path with me. I participate in a wide range of activities: music, dance, sledge, hockey, surfing, swimming, horse riding, each filled with joy and adventure. My summers are busy with recreational programs, residential camps, and trips. I'm also a co-researcher in a Dalhousie University project focused on well-being of children with disabilities. These experiences are not just part of my daily life. They shape my identity and fuel my aspirations. I have learned that each of us hold the power to drive change, whether it is speaking up, sharing our stories, taking small steps, or simply offering a smile. Every act of inclusion matters. Every small action brings us closer to a more equitable and bright future. With the support of organizations like NSLEO and Inclusion Nova Scotia, I have had opportunity to initiate important conversation around the lived experience of people with disabilities and the urgent need for accessibility and inclusion. Through the nonprofit organization, the Rayan Foundation, I continue this lifelong mission, supporting newcomer communities in Nova Scotia and advocating for the larger systematic change in my home community back home in India. I believe this cross-border and cross-cultural dialogue and sharing is very much crucial. As a young person who finds himself at a pivotal moment in Nova Scotia's history, award is not just for me, it is for every person who refuses to be defined by the barriers. You matter, your experience matter, your voice can change the world. That is how we build systematic change and shift the paradigm in the disability space. I dedicate this award to all those voices, whether silent, heard, or shattered or scattered, that move us closer to our shared vision of inclusion. This, I believe, is true essence of advocacy. Let us keep raising awareness, let us keep opening doors, and most importantly, let us keep building a world where inclusion is not an afterthought, but it's a wonderful culture. Thank you.
I just want to say I'm now inspired for another year. Fantastic. To all of the award recipients, congratulations.
We would like to invite all the recipients to the front for a photo.
Is it okay if we move the mics? Thank you, Taylor and Catherine, and congratulations again to our award recipients for your contributions to your communities and to the inclusion of persons with disabilities. I echo Catherine's sentiments and am truly humbled by the dedication and the commitments of individuals who are fighting and who are representing and who are providing supports and services in a world that was not initially built to do that. And we know we're changing things and we know it's not moving as quickly as we would like it to, but it is changing. I would like to now introduce Halifax's laureate program who celebrates and elevates literary arts through written and spoken word. I have had the distinct honor and pleasure of working with Anna Kwan, who describes herself as a middle-aged, mixed-race, and mad woman who got a late start as a novelist and poet. Anna was named as Halifax's 9th Poet Laureate in April 2024, and she will read a poem that she wrote today. She didn't write it today, she's going to read it today.
when my dad and I were voting in the federal election, I realized how it was a little bit more chaotic and a little less accessible than I would have hoped. So this poem is partly about that. And it's a rhyming poem, which is not my usual, but hopefully it'll help it flow a little. It's called Mark Your X. I helped my dad vote in the federal election. He knew the party he wanted, tried to make his selection, but couldn't see the name on the ballot, so I placed an X by his chosen candidate. It felt a little bit of a legal travesty. It certainly compromised confidentiality. Before that, we stood in line forever, confirming that I was indeed registered. I'd no voter card, but we were determined we'd have our say on how we were governed. Me leaning on my cane, my dad wilting beside me, all his 92 years, 100 pounds, and 5 feet. But my dad's been a voter all of his days in this country whose systems he'll critique and he'll praise. Every chance that he has while he's still alive, he'll line up, rain or shine, to exercise his right to vote, because he knows the cost if citizens stay silent, what can be lost, including this time our sovereignty, our dignity, our democracy. But disabled, exhausted, and often in pain, we need to line up again and again to be counted to vote, to have our say, even when the burning issues of the day overshadow our needs, overtake our voices, and leave us to wonder who makes these choices to tackle some issues and leave others out. But if only a few of us stand and shout or mark our X on election day, we can be sure they'll ignore what we have to say or water it down and hope we forget, like the Canada Disability Benefit. And they don't make it easy to vote or to run for disabled, unhoused, or those with low income, to honor our right and our civic duty to choose those who lead us and represent our community. If Dad could have voted by phone and me online, it would have saved us plenty in pain, energy, and time. If there were chairs to wait in, it would have been easier to say who we wanted to govern us that election day. If accessibility were a priority, you might even see a strong majority. Thank you. Of people with significant disability voting across this country, province, and city. Which comes first, our vote or our issues? The same old lesson always seems to hold true. The fight for our rights always starts with us. If we want what we need to make a fuss. If we want to be heard, we can't just send a text. We want to be seen, so try making an X. That powerful letter, a small cross to bear, to let powerful people know that we're there. We're here for the vote, we're taking up space. They'll remember next time that they enter the race. It's still our best hope if we want to be heard. Vote, mark your X, it's louder than words. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. This pretty much wraps up our Access Awareness Week. However, we will be having the flag raising. We have changed the timing for this, so we'll do it at the end of the ceremony. Anybody who would like to join us for the flag raising, it will be outside in just a few short moments. It is a great way to start Access Awareness Week. But to echo Malcolm and Anna and so many others in this room, those who we know who are not or were not able to make it, we are not going quietly into the night. And as you have learned, we are getting louder, and we are finding the ways and the means through our own fortitude, through champions who ride with us, and through government who is understanding the needs, and for caregivers who diligently are working to try to change the policies that are impacting those who they love. I'd like to extend our gratitude on behalf of the Partnership for Access Awareness Nova Scotia Committee to our town crier, Will Brewer, to HRM, His Worship, Mayor Andy Fillmore, to MLA Brad McGowan, the Honourable Danielle Barkhouse, and the Honourable Brad Johns for the proclamation and remarks for the week. I'd also like to say a warm thank you to Engage Nova Scotia for their representation on the Quality of Life Survey and their commitment to improve the process for persons with disabilities. Also, thank you, Anna, for your musical performance. It was absolutely incredible. We have your contact information. And also thank you to Anna Kwan for the poem and the showcase and how important voting is, and to Catherine and Taylor, and for all the other guests who have joined us here today. I would like to also say that the awards and all our award recipients and your supporters, how humbled we are to be able to do a small part in saying thank you for the work that you do. There are lots of events that are going to be happening this week. We kicked it off today with the proclamation. We'll have the flag raising. And as I mentioned, we will have the scholarship later. But I'd also like to mention that we have so many events sandwiched in between those Access Awareness Weeks that we have traditionally hosted. And that is due in large part to the work of our community partners, the Accessibility Directorate, the Disability Partnership, the CNIB, Tetris Society. There are so many across sectors who have really embraced the message that we have been trying to deliver for 39 plus years. And I'd like to end this on a note of, on those events that are happening this week, we are focused on the theme of our voices, our rights, disability rights in action. There is the Rights in Action Lived Experience Leading Policy Panel discussion that will be happening at 12 noon tomorrow. We also have the Electing People with Disabilities panel discussion that will be happening on Friday at 3 p.m. That will be to discuss the importance of having people with disabilities represented in politics. There are, as I mentioned, many events that will be happening across the province that will celebrate persons with disabilities, which include the scholarship. Amanda, I don't know if there's any seats available because they are in high demand, but we are definitely looking forward to that event. You can also view this event, as I mentioned earlier. This is being recorded, so you can certainly go to our Access Awareness Week website or aawns.ca. And for anyone who has received an award, I know there may be some concerns that there's some danger of it being broken in transport. So we do have boxes in the back. If you'd like to grab one and put your award in, it will protect it. And please, for anyone who would like to join us, we're going to head out for the flag raising. Hopefully, we'll have everybody join us there. For the live stream, thank you for attending. And I hope you all have a wonderful week of celebrating, but more importantly, of raising awareness. And for people who are in the room, please join us outside at the Grand Parade. And if you need to go, thank you for joining us, and I hope everyone has a great week and that we see you again next year. Thank you.